Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we're here with something a little bit different. Yes, I get asked constantly about the F1 Ultimate Career Mode mod, the 1998 to 2007 series that I'm running here on the channel, and ultimately there's just a lot to go through with it. Obviously, I've tried to answer your questions and things like that before in like individual videos and everything like that, but there's just so much kind of nuance and a few little weird tricks and things that you've got to learn with this mod. So I thought today, to kickstart the new year, I would make just kind of one video going through absolutely everything. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to be, but it's probably going to be quite a long one, and it's going to be very talky and very kind of just heavy based on information. So if you're not really interested in this mod or kind of never seen it or heard of it or anything like that, this video is probably not for you. But if you've seen the mod on the channel before, I would highly recommend watching right the way through this video, because like I said, there are quite a few little weird things with this game as well, or how to get this mod to work, how to do a few kind of things, and maybe if you have already downloaded it, a few glitches as well. So the best place to start, I would say, is on Geki's YouTube channel. Of course, I don't own the mod; it's not my mod or anything like that. I've just paid for it and enjoy using it, and obviously you've made a lot of videos with it here on the channel. Now, as you can see, if you head over to Geki's channel, obviously I'll have the links to the mod as well, which is obviously a very good place to start. It seems like now he's pretty much stopped doing anything with it. He's now focusing on his Formula Circus, which I'm very excited for when that comes out there. He does a fantastic job with it all. So first things first, the mod isn't free. You do have to pay for it. So if you head over to his website, it will send you to a Patreon link. Now, I believe his Patreon is, you've got to pay, I believe it's £10 a month, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it comes to £10.20 a month, obviously, for this mod. Now, obviously, the way Patreon works is, you pay that every single month. For the mod, you only have to do it once. Obviously, you get his Patreon, download the mod, and then don't have to ever worry about it again. Now, what you do have to factor in, though, is internet speed. It's like a 55 gig download, and the way he does it is you download it through like a Chrome link. So it does take a long time. I found as well, if you're trying to download something off Chrome or Google Drive for more than 3 hours, it just fails. So if your internet speed isn't that great like mine has been in the past, I would just avoid it, to be honest, because yeah, I've just had so many issues with Chrome and the other ways he set it up so you can download it just not working very well. And I, set it up to download overnight and then wake up in the morning and it failed and can't find itself and things like that. So yeah, just be careful. If your download speeds are slower than about 50 megabytes a second, you're probably not going to be able to download the mod in very quick time. And that obviously causes its own set of problems. But of course, obviously, once you have got the link to the mod, then you've always got the link to the mod. So if you get better internet, or say for what I had to do in the end, fun story, was actually go to my grandparents' house because they have much better internet than me. So I downloaded it one day whilst I was there. So obviously you'll get a download link. Geki has actually got a video on kind of this process on his channel already, so I'll make sure I leave a link to that down in the description below. I believe if you go here, there we go, the Ultimate F1 Career Mode installation, and he kind of talks through everything in a bit more basic terms. That video works very, very well, but it doesn't kind of give you a lot of the kind of in-depth detail, and he does a very good job, but English also isn't his first language, I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he does a pretty good job, but doesn't quite go through all of the nuance that I kind of had to find by digging and doing research myself. So to avoid any problems with the mod, what I would recommend doing is obviously downloading it and then saving it twice. Obviously once in your F1 2020 folder, and then once I would recommend saving it just kind of by itself, because sometimes you find if you do run into problems with the mod, then obviously it can be a pain trying to factory reset your game and then obviously go back in. So what you want to do, if you head into Steam, obviously if you've used mods or anything like that before, I would head into Steam, go to your library, and then obviously click on F1 2020. And then what I would do is I would then go to Manage, and then I would say, first of all, go to Properties even, and then I would say you want to go into Verify Integrity of Game Files. That'll obviously give you just a completely base version of F1 2020, and then copy and paste the mod. Again, that is all explained in Geki's separate video as well. So copy and paste the mod, obviously from that separate folder into obviously F1 2020. I would Control-C, Control-V, rather than just using Windows Auto Shifter, because then, yeah, you've obviously got like the mod separately and obviously the mod baked into the game. Now, obviously, if you head into your F1 2020 game files as well, one of the other important files that you need to use is actually here. So as you can see, we're inside obviously your Steam apps and F1 2020. You want to head over to the name changer. Now, I've actually got it pinned. I've got it set up in my task manager, so obviously whenever I'm recording a video with the mod, I can just easily access it. What you have to do is obviously set up this, but don't click right to F1 until you're inside the game. Now, that'll lead us on nicely into one of the major problems that I have. Now, it might not be the same for you, but I have one issue with this mod every single time I try to play. So if I click, obviously, on F1 2020, it'll launch into Steam, obviously synchronized with the cloud, everything like that. It works absolutely fine with F1 2020 because obviously the servers have been taken down now. But every single time I try to go into the mod, obviously it launches NVIDIA Shadowplay, everything like that, and I get to this screen and it crashes. That just seems to be the case. The only way I found to fix it, of course, you can try and reopen the game over and over and over. It won't work. The only fix I found is to just restart your PC and immediately click into it. Then it works fine. I'm guessing it conflicts with other software and things like that I've got on my PC. So yeah, I'm just going to go quickly restart my computer and then we'll go kind of into the game and talk about a few more bits and pieces. Okay, so now as you can see, we are into F1 2020. If it crashes again the first time you restart your PC, sometimes I have to do it 2 or 3 times, but eventually it will work itself out. The most important thing, of course, is when the game is actually loading, that you make sure it is obviously full screen and tabbed in. Otherwise, yeah, you'll run into problems with it. So now we're inside the game. As you can see, it's still saying obviously like Mercedes AMG, which obviously isn't right for 2001, and obviously all of currently the drivers and things like that have their real life names. There's a few little interesting quirks and things like that as well. Head back out into your main menu, so obviously just click your Windows key on your PC, then obviously open up the F1 name changer once again. Like I said, obviously I've got it just pinned to my task manager, so obviously I can just easily find it. Then obviously just click right to F1. A custom offset file has been detected, likely generated from a previous run. Would you like to use this custom offset? Yes, I would. Now, the great thing is, obviously with this name changer as well, is you can actually open up the text file and you can change the drivers as well. So you can actually make your own driver transfers inside this game. Now, I would avoid trying to put anybody into the mod that isn't already listed, but obviously, yeah, you can very easily kind of copy and paste different driver names in. So, for example, if I wanted Lewis Hamilton into the game as well, I believe he shows up somewhere. You can see we've got Danica Patrick, so you could just copy and paste that over, and then obviously use that to replace one of the current drivers, and obviously then Danica Patrick would take their seat. But yeah, now obviously if we head back into the game, if we click on just any option, you'll see suddenly now it says McLaren Mercedes, and all of the names are correct. Only do that once you are in the main menu screen. Don't do it beforehand, otherwise again you'll risk just the mod crashing and you have to restart your PC again and everything else. Now, one of the weird kind of quirks I found as well with Fanatec, of course, is that, for example, my CSL DD won't work on F1 2020 normally. You actually have to make sure that you click the mode options so it's on the yellow setting, which is the compatibility mode, and then you should be able to use your normal F1 24 settings with just a couple of minor tweaks, and everything should work out nicely for you as well there. So, obviously, yeah, everything's now working as it should be. Obviously, the next round we've got in our F1 2001 career mode is in Monza. Obviously, we won't go into the weekend or anything like that, but I will just talk through a couple of other little bits and pieces. Now, number one, just another quick housekeeping item. It's highly, highly unlikely, but if Codemasters or EA ever try to bring a change to F1 2020, just head over into your management and then your properties once again. You want to make sure that the game is set to DirectX 12 Windows 10 only, but also you want to make sure that you always keep the game updated. Now, there shouldn't ever be any more updates for F1 2020, but what I found is if you try and set this up so obviously it doesn't try to update and things like that, sometimes it can get a little bit funny as well there. So yeah, obviously once you've got that all working, I don't believe you need the DLC, but obviously I have that as well for F1 2020. So yeah, just a couple of weird little bits and pieces, obviously because of Steam and Codemasters might try and change things. That would obviously be disastrous and quite possibly break this mod forever, which would be very, very sad as well. Now obviously if you don't have F1 2020 on PC, all I'm sadly going to say is good luck, because it is near impossible to find nowadays. So you're going to have to go through a dodgy third-party reseller. I don't recommend anyone, to be honest. I'd say just try your chances. Check out reviews online. But yeah, if you haven't got F1 2020 on PC, you're pretty much out of luck before we go any further inside this video. Now, once obviously you're into the career mode as well, there are quite a few other settings and things that you need to keep in mind. Now, obviously, most of this generation of cars had ABS or traction control already enabled, but obviously they are embedded into the car itself, so I still run Elite on the assist, so obviously nothing is on whatsoever. That generally makes all the cars kind of handle as they should, and obviously, you know, as we've seen with the 2001 McLaren, for anyone that's been keeping up with the series, it's got traction control built. You don't need to enable it separately inside the game. Now, other settings as well, there are quite a lot that we've got to go through. In terms of the AI level, I would recommend running about 5 less than you normally run inside the F1 game. These mod cars are very, very quick. The AI are very, very good in them, so they're actually a bit more of a challenge than what you'd normally find. So currently I run 101. I've got flashbacks enabled just if there's any problems with the game, if there's any glitches and things like that. Full damage model, simulation damage model, and reduced all basically work the same way. The damage model, as you've seen on this mod, if you've watched the series, is brutal. You cannot make contact with other cars. It will rip a wheel off, and I quite like that. Other people have said they hate it. It can make the wheel-to-wheel racing a lot more difficult, but I think it does a pretty good job of showcasing just obviously how difficult, you know, and just how delicate these F1 cars were back in the early or late 90s and early 2000s as well. Safety cars I've left on. And again, anybody that's watched our series before will know just how many of those we get. Regular corner cutting, personally, I've disabled formation lap. Then we've got manual race starts and surface plus carcass temperature for the tyres. I found if you run it on just surface only, it can make things a little bit funky. Again, obviously the mod is designed to be played with surface and carcass tyres as kind of temperature, I should say, as well there. Now, obviously the game does come loaded with its own custom HUD. Fortunately even, that just works straight out of the box. You don't have to do anything else with it. The only thing that doesn't work, sadly, is the minimap. I've got it left on minimap, but none of the maps work inside the game. It can often break them as well. So leave it on minimap, leave the map rotation on. But yeah, you just can't get a minimap inside the game as well there. And the rear view mirror as well, that just doesn't really work with mods inside the game either, so I've got that one disabled as well there. Now, if we have a look then at some other little tweaks and changes, you can see obviously I've got my wheelbase. It reckons it's a Club Sport wheelbase V2.5. Obviously all of my normal settings and things like that are here, so if you want to have a look at any of those, you can do. Ultimately, I haven't really tweaked a lot. You can run pretty similar settings to what you would inside F1 24. I would just reduce your vibration and force feedback quite a lot, because yeah, if you end up having contact with another driver or something like that, it absolutely just shakes your wheel to pieces. So all of those effects are quite turned down. Understeer enhanced, though, I've got disabled because these cars are a whole lot lighter. It just makes them handle, again, a little bit funky there. And again, I've got no real MFD setups or anything like that. I'm just running kind of the standard F1 2020 config as well. Now, audio settings, there are a couple of weird little things. You'll notice if you just launch up the game, that for some reason only plays, I believe it's through your right ear. So what you've got to do is head over to, I believe it's the broadcast mix, and disable it, because, yeah, it just makes it a little bit funky, and you can only hear it through one ear. So disable that. You should have the normal audio again in the car. I think that was actually just a glitch with F1 2020 as well there, which was a little bit frustrating back in the day. Now, graphics options. This is another one that is really, really important that you get right. Now, obviously, I run the game at 4K. I've got everything pretty much set to ultra high, except for there's a couple of little bits and pieces that you've got to be really, really careful of. Now, Geki did actually try and patch this at one point and has made it a whole lot better. But you can see pretty much everything there is as I run it. The ambient occlusion I've got set to HBAO+. But yeah, most things are set to high. The only thing you've got to be really careful of, if I'm not mistaken, is the anti-aliasing. You've got to run that on DLSS, or obviously if you're not on NVIDIA, run it on the AMD equivalent. One of the other really important things actually with this mod, which is a glitch I found in both the 1999 season and apparently is also a problem later on in the game, it's something Geki's really tried to kind of fix in the past, is actually the texture streaming. Now, if you find that you're getting to the end of a Grand Prix, and either you got to the end of a Grand Prix or you've crashed out of a Grand Prix, and the car's just circling round, it cannot load like the end screen. That is due to both the texture streaming and I believe the vehicle reflections. Now, I'm running them on ultra high here, but if you get problems with those, you have to turn them down to, I'm pretty certain, the lowest possible setting. So if you run them on ultra low, it should fix it. Obviously, if you've had that problem before, set it to ultra low, and then what I'd recommend doing is obviously just crashing out of a race instantly, seeing if the game will obviously then load the end screen, and then obviously just restart, because then it should work again. Unfortunately, obviously it does ruin the graphics on the cars, because obviously all of the mods are based through the texture streaming, but I believe that is what kind of generates that problem. Again, anybody that watched our 1999 season will know obviously that we had that glitch after the Monaco Grand Prix, and unfortunately I ended up being forced to completely reset the mod. Again, you know, it's a fantastic mod, it is incredible, but there are a few little bits and pieces like that ultimately, when Geki's trying to push this game as far as he is, just cannot quite be fixed, which is a little bit of a shame there. So you can see, obviously, none of those changes will take effect until afterwards. Now, I don't believe there's any other kind of settings like that I've got to have a look through as well. For those of you that always ask about my camera settings, there you go. They're baseline. I think I've slightly altered the look to apex limit, just slightly down, because I don't like the way the head tilts too much, but yeah, that's the way I run it. You've also got to make sure you leave your halo column on. It'll never be a problem inside the game, but it is something that you've got to factor in as well there. So yeah, lots of settings, lots of kind of little bits and pieces like that you've got to get figured out. But ultimately, once you've done them once, you never really have to think about it ever again then. Now, the last and arguably most important thing, of course, is actually kind of within your career mode, the kind of little bits and pieces that you've got to set up as well. Obviously, some of you have asked me before, you can only use one-shot qualifying. Unfortunately, the way that Codemasters simulates, obviously, if you're running like a full qualifying session and you kind of try and fast forward, it doesn't work. It just means the AI setting times like 15 seconds a lot faster than anything you can do, because effectively it gives you the power of a modern Formula 1 car with the lightness of these mod cars as well. So it doesn't work. You have to run one-shot qualifying. You cannot simulate sessions, otherwise it just kind of starts breaking. So, you know, you can run a full qualifying, but you can never fast forward inside a session. I've ran 25% races. They've worked absolutely fine. I run 50% races in our career mode. They work absolutely fine as well there. So, yeah, apart from, yeah, you can only use one-shot qualifying. The only other thing as well is you can't do practice programs, because, again, they're based on 2024 car performance. 2020 car performance, even, I should say, than kind of the cars in games. So you'd never be able to do any of the practice programs as well there. So, yeah, there's a few little kind of bits and pieces, a little bit of nuance as well that is really, really important. But I think that pretty much covers everything. I'm sure I'm going to be forgetting a couple of little bits of random bits and pieces as well. So if I do remember anything, I will make sure I leave it down in the description below, or down in the comments below as well there. Like I said, you know, obviously, it's a fantastic mod. I would highly recommend it. It's worth the £10, even if obviously you just pay once and get access to the mod. You can do it that way around rather than paying £10 a month forever. And like I said, once you've kind of sat down, gone through all the settings, basically, I would just recommend matching everything I've done with the exception of like the AI and things like that. Obviously, use those to kind of what suits you. But yeah, once you've done that, it works fantastically. The last thing, actually, I forgot to talk about, which I'm sure I will get questioned on, is obviously when you finish a season inside the career mode. So if we head over, where have I got this mod saved? I'm trying to remember where it's saved kind of separately on my PC. There we go, F1 2020 mod. So this is what the file looks like inside the game. Obviously, when you finish a season, what I would recommend doing is you can I'm pretty certain you can just copy over the next season straight into the mod. And obviously it works absolutely perfectly as well there. So that's, you know, it just obviously overwrites the same files usually, and it works really, really well in the end. So again, obviously, you just go into F1 2020 and then copy paste all of that into your F1 2020 save file. If you've never done modding on any game before, there's plenty of guides kind of how to, you know, modding is one of those things that seems really scary on paper, but especially obviously if you break anything, just re-verify your game files on Steam and it'll work again. You can do a bit of trial and error to get things to work as to how you like as well there, but I'm actually just going to quickly see. I can't put you do actually get access to both Sepang and Hockenheim as well with this mod. Neither of them work very well in career mode. Hockenheim works better than Sepang, but yeah, you do get access to a couple of other cool little bits and pieces as well there. But yeah, like I said, if there's any other questions, please make sure you leave them down in the comments below. Like I said, this is quite a wordy video, quite a boring one if you're not interested in this mod, but hopefully will help some of you guys out. Geki also has a Discord server, linked obviously over on his Patreon and everything else, so if you're ever getting any other problems, I would head into there and obviously ask them as well, because there's quite a few guys in there that really know what they're doing with the mod as well. But yeah, that's going to do us for this one. Thank you all, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new video.